Now I'm back at our shapes document, and this document is in its original state, and some of you in the previous exercise have destroyed, or at least messed with, our shapes document. So don't forget, we can still go to File, we can go to Revert To, and you can browse to the previous version of the document. That's the way you want it to be. So don't stress if you go and you mess up a document. As long as it was ever saved the way you want it, you'll be able to browse back in time, and you'll be able to recover the version you're looking for. So with that, I'm now back to this, and we don't really need all 4 shapes for this document, so I'm going to go and I'm going to select these 2 by dragging. I'm going to tap Delete on my keyboard, I'm going to tap on this, and I'm going to delete that as well. So now we're just down to the red square, and that was an accidental 2-finger click right there. So now that we've got this red square, let's say we need 2 of them. I'm going to hold the Option key, and I'm going to drag to the right, so now we have 2 of them. I'm going to do the same thing again, so now we have 3 of them. And let's just say, for the sake of example, that we need all 3 of these to be the same size, but we need them to be a little smaller. Now, I could one at a time scale them down, but that's kind of a pain. I'm sure you'll all agree with that. So I'm going to select all 3, and I'm going to go over to my inspector, and I'm going to turn the width down. I'm just going to nudge the width down. Now, what you'll notice is, unlike Photoshop and other design software, it's handling each object individually. Each one is 130 pixels now, and each one goes down respectively. It's not treating my selection as an object. My selection is not an object. My selection has 3 objects, and Sketch is smart enough to treat it as such. I can do the same for the height. I can increase or decrease the height 1 pixel at a time. So I'm actually going to make these 130 by 130, and you can use the Shift key to go 10 pixels at a time if you'd like. The next thing I want to show you guys is how to do this without involving the inspector, though it is good to keep an eye on the inspector. Now, we're able to move things and we're able to scale things using keyboard shortcuts, and here are a couple of keyboard shortcuts that are really, really helpful. These are nudging shortcuts. The arrow keys on the keyboard allow you to nudge a selection in position. You guys will notice on my screen, it's sliding left, it's sliding right, but it's going 1 pixel at a time. It's very slow. If I hold the Shift key, I'm able to nudge 10 pixels at a time instead of 1 pixel at a time. I can save a ton of time if I have to go a long distance. Now, most people think nudging only works for positioning. Nudging also works for size. You just have to hold the Command key on the keyboard. With Command held down, the right arrow is going to nudge the width to the right. It's going to nudge it wider. The left arrow is going to nudge the width to the left, or make it smaller. It's always handling the right edge if you're nudging the width, and it's always handling the bottom edge if you're nudging the height with the up and down arrows. So that's one thing to consider. You may be looking at the left edge and tapping the left arrow to try to nudge the left edge to the left, but it doesn't work that way. It's always going to be the right edge, and it's always going to be the bottom edge. If I need the shape to go to the left and be wider, I'll nudge it to the left to move the whole thing. Then I'll Command nudge to the right to make it wider. Takes a little getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's really not too bad, and it really speeds up your workflow when it comes to pixel-perfect adjustments to both width, height, and position. Now, just like the repositioning of a shape, you can hold the Shift key to nudge 10 pixels at a time. You can hold the Shift and Command key to nudge the width or the height 10 pixels at a time. So you're able to combine those shortcuts together. Now, the next thing, this is really exciting. Not everyone gets excited by this. I'm kind of a nerd, so this kind of excites me, because I don't like doing math. I like what math does for me, but I don't like doing math. And if I need these boxes all to be twice as tall as they are, I could figure out what 140 times 2 is. That's not too hard. But let's say that it's a crazy number, and not that this is a crazy number, but I'm going to change the height to 147. If I need these to be twice as tall, I can click into my box here on the inspector that displays the height, and I can use an asterisk for my multiplication symbol, followed by what I want to multiply it by. So in this case, 147 times 2. And when I hit return, it automatically does the math for me. It's one of my favorite features of Sketch, to be perfectly honest. Not that Sketch doesn't have tons of other great features, but this is one of those features that really makes me feel like the developers care about us getting our work done as quickly as possible. Another thing we can do, if I know that these need to be 6 pixels taller in order to be 300, I can just type +6. When I hit return, now it's 300. It does the math for me. It does addition, it does multiplication, it does division, and subtraction, so you can save a ton of time by not doing math yourself.